Hello, it's Charlie from Oxford Brookes University Library. Let's look at how to find EU cases and legislation. This video will show you how you can find EU cases and legislation on either Westlaw or EUR-Lex. You may not have come across EUR-Lex before, so I'll show you some of the things you can do and show you how you can learn more. As always, I'll wrap up by showing you where you can develop your skills and where you can find help and support. Hopefully, you've already used Westlaw to find English cases or legislation using the Cases tab and Legislation tab. To find EU materials, we don't use these tabs, but instead click on EU in the blue bar. This blue bar runs along the top of every page in Westlaw. When you click on EU, you'll be taken to this search page. You can use as many or as few of these search boxes as you like. If you don't have a particular document in mind, but just wanted to search for a word or a phrase, then you can use the free text box. Let's imagine that you found a reference to this case in your EU law textbook. All EU cases start with a case number, and this is usually the simplest way to find a case. So I take that case number, C-170/96, and type it into the case or document number box. The only other thing I need to do is tick the Cases box near the bottom before clicking Search. Simple. We can do a similar thing to find legislation. EU legislation, such as directives, recommendations and decisions, tend to have very long names, as this example illustrates. Let's assume your lecturer used this example in a lecture slide and you want to find it for yourself. Happily, to find this, all we need to make note of is firstly what type of legislation it is. It will say this at the start. Here we can see it's a decision. Secondly, we need to make a note of the document's number. Here it's 2021/1. So armed with those two bits of information, I head to the EU search page on Westlaw. Again, I use the case or document number box and I type in 2021/1. The second thing I need to do is to use the alphabetical drop-down list under document type to find the word decision. I then hit search. Before we leave Westlaw, I just wanted to share one of my favourite features, folders. Down the right-hand side of any document on Westlaw, keep an eye out for this folder icon. By clicking this, you can stash the document away in a folder so you can come back to it later. You may want to have a separate folder for each module or assignment. From any page in Westlaw, you'll see the word folders in the top right. This will take you to all those documents you have saved. This is great because you don't need to search for them every time. Aside from Westlaw, another useful tool for finding EU documents is EUR-Lex. Have a go at using both and see which you find easier. EUR-Lex is produced and maintained by the European Union and is their official source of EU legal documents. I've popped a link to EUR-Lex below this video. One handy link on the EUR-Lex homepage is to all the EU treaties. You can search for them one by one on Westlaw, but it's a good time saver to know that they're all listed in one place on EUR-Lex. The second thing I wanted to draw your attention to is this Find Results by Document Number box down the right of the EUR-Lex homepage. As you'll see in a moment, we can use this to find EU cases and EU legislation. Remember this? This was the legislation that I showed you how to find on Westlaw. Again, we can ignore the long title and just use the information at the start of the reference to find this document. It's got the number 2021/1. This means it was the first decision published in 2021. Unlike in Westlaw, we need to separate out the year and the number in EUR-Lex. Can you see how I've put 2021 in the year box and then 1 in the number box? Just like on Westlaw, we then pick Decision from the drop-down list before clicking on the search icon. It's a very similar process for finding a case. See how the case number is 170/96. This means it was the 170th case from 1996. So again, I use the year box and the number box and slot those two numbers in. Again, I say that it's a case using the drop-down box. You may be wondering why I keep using this little box down the side of the home page rather than the big search box at the top. There's a huge number of documents available on EUR-Lex. If I put my case number in the search box, it will give me every document that mentions that case number. Sure, one of them would be the case I want, but it will be buried amongst lots of other documents. I find that if I'm looking for a particular document and I have the document number, then the Find Results by Document Number box is the quickest way to get to that document. But of course, if you don't have a particular document in mind, but just want to search for a topic or a word and see what's out there, then the quick search box is super useful. EUR-Lex have made their own series of videos showing you different things you can do and sharing some good search tips and hacks. I've linked to their playlist below this video. One good tip is to make the most of the information in your EU law textbook. If you look at the front, there are really comprehensive lists of key cases, directives, treaties, etc. These references all contain things like the document number or case number, so you can now quickly look up these important resources for yourself on Westlaw or EUR-Lex. If you want to dig a bit deeper into EU law, there is a section on the law page of the library website dedicated to this. Again, the link is below. And don't forget that you can always come and talk to me. If you're still confused about finding EU sources, or if you want to push yourself further, then book a one-to-one with me. We can then walk through this together.